Hello, Dodgers fans. This is Michael J. Duarte, sports reporter from NBC Los Angeles, and we have a new type of show for you guys here on the Fan Media Network. I will be your host, but this is not a show necessarily about the players or about other journalists talking about what's going on with the team. This is a show for fans, and we want to feature you, the fans, on this show. So throughout the episodes I will be doing on this show, on the Fan Media Network, I'm going to be interviewing the fans of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I want to know your favorite memories of watching your Dodgers play. I want to know your first time at Dodger Stadium and what that experience was like. And most of all, I want to know where you were and what you were doing when the Los Angeles Dodgers won the 2020 World Series inside Globe Life Field in Texas. So we'll be talking with many fans. If we get the opportunity, we'll have other guests like fellow journalists and players and whoever else wants to come join me on the show as well. But speaking of guests, I am joined by one of my very good close friends who's been a lifelong Dodgers fan himself, born and raised here in Los Angeles. And as you can see by his hat that he's wearing right now, he has been out to Camelback Ranch in Arizona. He goes every year. He watches this team in spring training. I've had to drag him and drive him out there myself out to Arizona. So we are joined by the one and only and my co-host on the Believe in Lakers podcast, Nick Hamilton. All right, Nick. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Dodgers before I get into some of your favorite stories and memories about the Dodgers. So first and foremost, Nick, I want to know these Dodgers, right? Weird up and down roller coaster season so far. It's a tale in three parts, right? They start hot at 13-2. They go cold and lose 14 of 18. Now they're hot again. So, Nick, what is going on with these Dodgers right now? Are we going to see them go cold again, or do you think they can stay this hot, or is it going to be somewhere in between?
It's a long season, man. I mean, you never know. I mean, hot, cold. As long as the bats are hot at the right times, especially down in the second half of the season, it'll be okay. It'll be fine. But I love it. I love the fact that they beat the Giants. They beat the hated ones. Guys are starting to come back off, injury. We saw, I think, what was that on Sunday? I think it was like Cody Bellinger hitting a home run for the OKC Dodgers. So that's a promising sign. He should be coming back in a couple of weeks or so. It's great, man. I think Pujols was the shot in the arm they may have needed as far as just balancing out that clubhouse, man, being a vet that he is. And that was shocking in itself to have Pujols in Dodger blue after all those years with the other squad down to 5 with the Angels. So I'm glad to see it. Hope they keep on winning. But, again, it's a long 162 game season. So we'll see what happens. As long as they get to the World Series and hoist up that trophy, that's all that counts.
So as you mentioned, you got the sweet life of Zach and Cody, Zach McKinstry and Cody Bellinger right now on a rehab assignment with AAA OKC. They're expected to come back as soon as this weekend series, a 4-game series with the rival Giants, this time on our turf, this time at Chavez Ravine. So, Nick, what do you think about when those two guys come back and join the Dodgers and hosting the rival Giants this time at Dodger Stadium this upcoming weekend?
Well, you hope they have some type of offensive production, even if it's, runners in scoring position or where they just get on base, period. I think you just want to see what they can do. And I think Dave Roberts is smart enough to bring those guys on slowly. You don't want to rush them back in because you want to prevent them re-aggravating an injury or, causing another injury because of what they had to suffer through. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Dave Roberts implements them back into the lineup, where he puts them, how he puts them. But I think I think they'll produce dividends.
All right, Nick, but like we said, this is a show about the fans. So we want to tell some stories here. As you know, I'm a storyteller. That's what I do. It's what I've always done. That's what's made me, the limited success that I have had in this business in sports journalism. So Nick, I want to know your very first memory at Dodger Stadium. Do you happen to remember your first game and
yeah,
who took you, where you were, where you sat, what you saw?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm a storyteller too, by the way. So it's funny because the first game I went to was actually the World Series in '88.
This is game one.
This is game one.
Oh my God.
We had no idea. And I think we were ready to go in the 8th because, everybody in LA knows you got to leave Dodger Stadium either by the 8th inning, the top of the 8th, or you might as well just stay because you're going to be locked in full of traffic, right? It's hell getting in and out of Dodger Stadium. Beautiful to come to Blue Heaven, but it's hell getting out. And we stayed. We say, okay, forget it. Stayed. watched it. And at that time, I was a young kid, so I didn't really understand the impact of what just happened. And then when I go back now as an adult and look back on it, like, wow, I was actually there.
Yeah, what might have hooked you is the atmosphere when Gibson comes limp into the plate, takes a couple practice hacks, gets down 3-2, hobbles to first. I'm sure the crowd was hinging on every single moment. Davis steals second base to set up, the tying run if Gibby can just get a single, and then he hits it into the seats, and that place must have gone nuts, and you must have been like, I'm hooked, period.
Well, between that and the Dodger dogs.
Which are new this year, by the way. I don't know if you've tried them. A little different this year. Not as salty, I've noticed, but a little sweet. But we're going to get to that next part in a second. So we talked about, look, fans watching and listening, Nick's first game is game one of the 1988 World Series, the Gibson game. I don't know how lucky or fortunate you can be to make that your first game. If you are not bleeding Dodger blue for the rest of your life, if that is your very first experience of the Dodgers, then you'll never fall in love with baseball the way a lot of people do. So Nick, my next question to you, 32 years later, it took for them to win again. So where were you? What was that moment like when Julio Urias gets strike three to end the 2020 World Series at Globe Life Field in Texas, in an artificial bubble of sorts, and they finally get over the mountaintop and win the World Series? What was that experience like for you? Where were you? What were you doing? What do you remember about that moment?
I think I was in the studio. So TV was on. We were in the studio recording. And it was like, whoa, this dude just hit. This dude just connected and got the pitch over the plate. We're like, okay, one more. Please don't screw this up. Please don't screw this up. Just take your time. We don't care. You want to take 5 minutes and regroup? That's fine. Whatever it takes for you to get your mind right. And Julio nailed it, man. That's how you knew he was a gamer. That's how you knew he had that ice in his veins. He had that Mamba mentality, and he got the job done. And who would have thought Julio Urias, a young kid that's on the rise, on the come up, was responsible for getting that last out and breaking that 32-year-old curse of not having the championship. So it was great, man.
And it must have just been a great feeling to finally see that 32 years later. You must have thought, as a young kid in '88, this is what they do. They just win World Series, and the Lakers go out and win championships too. This is championship city. So you must have thought this was going to happen every year. But obviously, it took 32 years for it to happen again. So I'm glad you got to be there to watch that final out. Last question from me, Nick. We've talked about this before on our show, on our podcast, but who's the coolest person you've ever met at Dodger Stadium? Whether it's a famous person, a celebrity, a player, who's someone you've bumped into and we're like, all right, either got to take a picture or I'm a little starstruck here, or whatever that moment may be for you.
The coolest person I met at Dodger Stadium? That's a good question.
You can say me if you want.
You said cool. I had to say Magic Johnson, man. Run into Magic Johnson. I think this was like the year after they bought the team, and he was like Dodger blued up. He was traveling with the team and doing that kind of stuff, and it was just cool just to see him up close and personal. He was wearing his Dodger blue, like he had a polo type shirt, and it's like, hey Magic, he was like, hey man, how's it going, buddy? Fist pumped me or whatever, and kept walking. It was cool. It's like, man, that's Magic. Like, that's Magic. Who would have thought? And you hear great stories about Magic anyway. But then when you actually enter his presence, that energy is infectious, man. So it was great, man. Period. So I would have to say Magic Johnson was the coolest person I met at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about being in Los Angeles. As I said, championship city, you can see other athletes on other teams. We're talking guys like Todd Gurley when he was, offensive player of the year with the Rams, hanging out at Dodger Stadium, Kobe Bryant hanging out at Dodger Stadium. And then you got Kenley Jansen, Cody Bellinger, Tommy Lasorda sitting courtside at Lakers games. And then you got, players on the LA Kings coming out to both Lakers and Dodgers games. And then there's players coming out to Staples Center to watch a Kings game. So I like how everybody's got the crossover, and you can see all these athletes you admire anywhere, like you said, seeing Magic at Dodger Stadium. Well, that's our show, guys. Just a really quick bite for you to watch and check it out. We are going to be featuring you guys, the fans. So why don't you go in the comments section, tell me right now your favorite memory at Dodger Stadium. Who's the coolest person you met? Do you remember your first game? I will be watching and reading them. I will pick the best ones, and I will bring you on the show. And I will ask you to tell that story so everybody else can listen to you and find you on here. And keep watching and tuning in. We will be having more episodes every week throughout the season. We'll be talking about what's going on. Hopefully we'll be having some guests and some behind the scenes footage of what's going on at Dodger Stadium and with that team. And also, we're going to have some cool sponsorship opportunities, some cool brands and stuff coming on here. We'll be doing giveaways. So keep watching, keep tuning in. Follow the Dodgers Fan Show on the Fan Media Network. Download the app or go online and watch it there. We'll also post this on YouTube. And let's go Dodgers. Repeat, defend the title.
To fan show or appear as a fan on a fan show, create a profile in Fan Media Network. Then look for the news page in our website and fan show resources page. Help yourself. We give show hosts a show graphic and team colors, a simple short show format, tips on pre and post production, ideas to get fans and guests on your show, Apple News distribution and show sponsorship sales and services to help featured show hosts earn money. Show hosts use our iPhone app to publish their shows. Our website supports Android users.